Welcome to this new webinar. We're talking about evolution before the revolution. We're talking about the future of work as usual. So what is that we put together with the future of work, human evolution, and productivity? Why are these three things combined? And what is Shop for CF? So you might have noticed that this webinar specifically has been organized, set up, and promoted by Shop4CF. Shop4CF is a European entity that helps companies for crowdfunding, especially, well, not especially, but in the context of the European Union Framework Program. We will see more of that later, but first of all, let's deep dive into the matter, into the topic, into the future of work. I'm really excited because there are a couple of questions that I will ask and that I will answer that are actually fundamental. Why do we talk about evolution? We know that we are living a disruption. We see the effect of this disruption. We see many things happening in the world, in the business world, in companies, and you have probably noticed many of these things happening around you. People leaving the job, people looking for purpose, people talking about, I want a different way of living. These are all clues, and I will deep dive into this in a couple of minutes. It's really important. So anything that is needed, just take care of the Shop4CF. Take care about being in contact with Shop4CF. You have the username here, the handle here, Shop4CF. And well, now let's really start the live. I gave a couple of minutes for people who might be late to join. Now let's really get into the matter of things. So here we go, sharing the screen. Here it is, evolution before the revolution. Is this really an unexpected disruption? So I'm saying, everyone is saying there is a disruption. The pandemic that we lived only accelerated the technological disruption, the digital innovation, everything that's behind that. But is it really unexpected? Don't we have in our modern times, talking about the last couple of 100 years until now, some familiar patterns, something that is recurring? And especially the question you're here for, how to achieve better productivity, better efficiency, and above all, better corporate culture. So I'll start with a story. I was in Oslo, Norway. What was that? Well, I have the date here, July 2019. I was there for a business course, and while working in one of the central squares, there was a photographic exhibition, and something hit me. There were photos of poor people living outside of, imagine a hut made with stones, people that were, I mean, obviously in poor condition. And I can only imagine how cold that could be in Norway when you're living in these conditions. I mean, even if you're not living in these conditions, in Norway it's quite cold. I can only imagine how that could have been living in these conditions. And so I got curious, and I go to there to see, and it basically it was about the 100 it has been 100 years that people who were below a certain threshold of poverty were allowed to vote. Yes, that's the thing. So 100 years ago, people who were too poor could not vote, did not have voting rights. And you said, what does this have to do with productivity in business? Well, because business is linked to society, and how we are productive and how companies are effective is linked to society. So that made me make a reflection. Well, 100 years ago, many people did not have voting rights. So what about the access to? So they did not have access to vote. How was the access to health and healthcare system? What were the health conditions in general? what were conditions of society? What were the labor rights and the access to labor? Think about 100 years ago, or start backwards. Think about compare life today with 300 years ago. Think about that for a second, and then 200 years ago. Think about war, famine. Yes, I know there's a war ongoing now in Europe. I think that was much worse and much more common and much more frequent all over the years. Think about the famine. Think about the access to food. Now we are picky about what kind of diet I want to make or I want to follow. That there was a different access to food. We live. It's not just me saying that. It's experts saying we're actually living in the safest time, but we feel the most stress. It's the time of the human, let's say, history that we are suffering the most stress, and at the same time, people look for more purpose. So we have two very big drivers in this moment. We have two big pressures from society. One is the social evolution, and is this one. And the other one is the technological evolution. So here you see a picture from 1909 or something like that, women washing the clothes. So the washing machine didn't exist. I know it sounds impossible for most of us, but washing machine did not exist. So what you would see regularly, you would go to one of the water sources or river if people were living next to a river, or if we had a house, if you were wealthy enough and you had a house that had uh, enough space, you would have a small version of this thing that you see in the picture at home, where the women would just take the clothes, the sheets, and just put soap on them, rub them against the stone, and then rinse them again, rub them against the stone again, and then just set them to dry. That was a very physical effort. Why am I saying this story? Because, well, that makes me a lot of emotion. My grandfather used to tell this story all the time. So in that time, around 19, was a bit later than the picture. It was around 1930 something, 1935, just before the Second World War. Someone came back from the United States telling, in the United States, there is this and that, so much more advanced than Italy, where my grandpa was living. And one of the things the person said, and there is a machine where you put the clothes inside, and then after some time, they get out clean. And I still remember my grandfather with a lot of emotion, because and every time he told the story, he was still laughing out loud, thinking about that. I said, "No, that's okay. You're just joking. You're just thinking we are fools. Now there's a machine that takes and does all this stuff. That's impossible. Whatever. Don't take us for fools. That's impossible." Well, actually, it's not a spoiler. You know that such a thing exists. Well, actually, the first examples of that look more something more like this than something you have in mind, but did exist. Why am I saying this? Because technological evolution is sometimes much more advanced than we can think. And this is the case a lot of the time, because technology goes so fast that we as human beings, as animals, we're not able to adapt that very quickly. Same topic, washing machine 100 years later, or almost. So I was in a computer engineering class in an elective course for the people who are most advanced in artificial intelligence and other topics, all about spreading the intelligence in the environment, the intelligence as in devices, and internet, what would then be called Internet of Things, and many other things. And one of the things that the teacher said is, well, for example, we will have, that was back in 2008, more or less. So one of the things that the professor said is, well, we have, for example, washing machine, everything will be connected to the internet. With this new technology, we will have much broader internet access. 2008, the iPhone hadn't came out yet. It came out only a couple of months later, actually. That's another story. But he kept on saying these things. And one of the examples he made, he said, well, washing machine, you know that now washing machine have washing capabilities, and they can wash and dry, and it's all combined. That's great. But we will go beyond that. Well, washing machine will be connected to the internet so you can control them remotely. And we were already like, that doesn't sound quite right, does it? And then he went one step further and he said, actually, washing machine will not only be connected to the internet, so you can see on your device, on your, at that time, we would say, no, wouldn't call it a smartphone that didn't exist yet. You would say a handheld device. You could see what's happening, you could check what it's doing, and you can control remotely. But if we have sensors so that when the detergent is out of stock, it will automatically order the detergent over the internet, and the detergent will come at your doorstep. And we were like, okay, this is absolutely science fiction. So don't tell us that people will want to have something connected. I mean, their appliances connected to the internet so that it goes message somewhere and someone out there automatically fills the order and probably a drone delivers this. It's absolutely science fiction. Well, it took something like 80 years or 10 years, but this exists. This has been done. This has been implemented. Well, this is one example. I will not say the brand because that's beyond the topic. But this exists. My grandfather could not see the idea of a machine that could wash things. It was impossible. He had in mind the women just rubbing stuff on the stone. And I, which I mean, much more to my fault because I was in an engineering course, in innovation course, I could not see that just a few years later, this box, this washing machine, this metal box could be connected to the internet and do all these kind of things. So the other drive that we have, the other pressure that we have in this moment is the technological evolution. Technology grows exponentially, goes so fast that we cannot grasp it because our mind, our brain, as I said before, grows linearly. So it's very difficult for us to understand the speed at which technology evolves, let alone anticipate what is going to happen. So let me say something obvious. Obvious as in many people talk about that. Many people say that 6 of 7 employees are not engaged or actively disengaged awake, which means people go to think about the colleagues around you. If you have a team, think about the team you lead. If you have a company, think about your company. Think about 7 workers, 7 employees. 6 of them are either not engaged, so yeah, okay, I gotta work, it's fine, it's just a job, whatever. Or they're actively disengaged, like, I hate this job, I need to do it because it pays the bills. I wish I could do something else. 6 out of 7. Imagine 7 people in your head, 7 of your employees, 7 of your teammates. 6 of them, most probably, according to statistics, fall into this pattern. Now, just to say something, most companies would say, no, this is not our case. No, actually, the vast majority of companies would say, no, this is not our case. Our employees are all satisfied, which is actually pretty striking. So 90% of companies say that their employees are satisfied. And actually 85, 6 out of 7 is 85%. 85% of people say they're not satisfied. We have a bit of disruption here. Well, we have a bit of mismatch more than disruption. And what's the point? Very obvious. Work is important. It takes 1/3 of the day. Roughly, it's 8 hours a day, most of the people. So it takes 1/3 of the day. It's about realization. It's about self-realization. We feel realized, we feel accomplished when we work well, even when you don't really like your work. So imagine what does it do when you do like your work? And we talk about it with family and friends. That's one of the main things that we talk about, especially with people we don't know that well. I know this is not the most fun of the topics, but it comes recurrently. Oh, what are you doing now? Oh, how is it going, your work? How's your work going? Oh, well, and what do you actually do exactly? Can you repeat it? Because I know you're in this field, but not exactly, isn't it? But something less obvious. Why do I say less obvious? Because I and other people, like people at Shop4TF and people who look into the future of work and look into improving things at work, know that more participation and more commitment bring to 17% more productivity, 20% more sales, 21% more profitability. That's just, quote unquote, just having people improving the participation and commitment of your people. Then, if you improve the fulfillment, so how people are satisfied and feel this sense of realization and fulfillment, as we just mentioned, it improves the private life by 68%. Now you would say, we're talking about a company. What do I even care about private life? Okay, for human reasons, I mean, for being empathic, whatever, but yeah, but think about that. Private life is health. The health of people who work at your company means that they're in a better health to work at your company, which means they work in a better way, they work more motivated, they take less days off, they don't spread this unhealthy mood with the colleagues and with the families and with the friends and with the other people in a domino effect on society. More fulfillment also means that you triple your success rate and your impact. So 3 times better success rate and impact of the projects. And then better environment. So how is the company culture? How is the environment? How does someone feel when he or she arrives in the company? So better environment means that 67% less employee turnover. Employee turnover, just to bring it to money, every turnover, every person that leaves the company costs the company between 33 and 66% of their salary. That's a very broad estimate, but when we go to managers and especially executives, this number goes above the roof. So it's much higher. And this doesn't probably count all the time lost with training and with people getting up to speed to the job. So better environment means people don't leave your company or leave it way less than now, so almost 70%. That the skill acquisition is 3 times as much, and the problem solving is 4 times as much. Why is it so? I don't know exactly, but I can think when think about yourself, when you're in a better environment, when you feel inspired, when you feel good, you problem solving comes much more natural than when you're squeezed, when you don't feel comfortable. And multiply it, always think in terms of company, multiply it with the other people. Think about how the other people are reacting. So if the environment is good, you interact in a functional way, in a pleasant way with your colleagues, wouldn't it be just much better to solve problems, to interact with each other, to help each other, to complement your skills? So what are the sources? This is just for the people who want the slides. By the way, if you want the slides, please reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to share them with you, and reach out to Shop4CF if you want further information about things that we're going to see in a couple of minutes. So sources are various successful pilot projects, because people say, oh, okay, I used to start with the theory, with the academic results, and people say, yeah, but that's university, that's academic results, that's research. No, that's research applied to pilot projects, to several pilot projects. Even McKinsey, which is, the probably one of the top, if not the top, strategy consulting company in the world. Harvard Business School also mentions that. DARPA, the Advanced Research Project Agency in the United States, also has studies on this. Gallup, Cornell University, University of Sydney, Berkeley University of California, and especially, I repeat that, successful pilot projects, including Microsoft in Japan, just to name one, say, okay, it's too big. It's not the topic, it's not the subject, if you like or not like Microsoft, what they do is one very big company. Plus now we have several, or have dozens of companies doing, looking into a different type of work and management in the UK alone. In Spain, 200 companies have adopted a new methodology, which is the 4-day work week. There are several sources. So there are several studies about this. So what to do? Let's deep dive into what to do. We said we have a social push from people to evolve our conditions. As human being is a social push. We said that when people in your company don't work well, you obtain less results. Pretty obvious, but that's like it. I mean, if people don't work well, the results are not as good. The other push is that technology will drastically change the way you live and work. It already started. The pandemic accelerated this process, but we're only at the very beginning of this. So what could be the resolution? Let's grab this opportunity to set things in a way that your people work better, obtain better results, optimize work, maximize the potential, minimize inefficiencies. Basically, we want to obtain better productivity, more fulfillment, and higher profits, because this benefits everyone. It benefits the company, it benefits the worker, and it benefits his or her family when they get back home with the children, with the spouse, with the friends, with the family. It's a positive domino effect. So, and then we have several stats, as we've seen, that show that more purpose leads to more profits. How to do it? Because you say, Giulio, this is fantastic, but what does have shop for CF do with this? And especially, how do we do it anyway? Good question. And we go now, we deep dive to basically solve this question. So, first hints. I'll give you a couple of practical hints and then we go into different solutions. So think about and use, not just think about, because if you just think about it, it's not enough, but think about what you have and use it. Which tools do you have? Which people do you have? As we just seen that if you have a better environment, helps people to triple their skills, the learning of new skills, and improving people's skills costs much less than finding new people. Also, what can you do to delegate? Why do I show Excel here? Well, because it's a perfect example of what I'm talking about here. So I was in this company and we had these basically interactions. It was about certification, right? So certification is all the paperwork. And there were these 3 documents that needed to be the Word documents that needed to be created. So one after the other for the 3 phases of certification. First document, you write the document, you edit it, then you send it to the governmental body that cares about the certification. Then they send it back with comments and remarks. You have to modify this document. Then you do a second document for the second milestone of the project. Again, you take almost all the stuff from the first document, but you need to put it in a second document. Write it all, send it to the government send you remarks and annotation. You have to modify this document. And since the stuff you copied over from the first document, there is some stuff that you also need to modify in the first document. So you're maintaining document 1 and document 2. And then for the third and final milestone, again, a new document, copy stuff from the first and the second document, copy and paste, and then modify and add so that you have a third and final document. Again, send it to the government, get it back with remarks and annotation. You have to modify that. And since you modify that, you need to modify document 2 and you need to modify document 1. Why do we do this? Why don't we just have one document that we carry over? It's a process. Okay, who wrote the process? I mean, someone wrote the process, right, for a reason. Are you actually looking at these 2 documents when we are at the 3rd phase of the project? No, actually we don't. So why do we have to do this effort? They have to check that we actually, that the company submitting these documents is actually doing these documents. They need to check them. The company has to do the effort of preparing and editing them all the time. Do you check these documents? No, actually, only if they're compliant. But do you actually check the content? No, it's not needed. So why do we have these 2 documents? And why we want to see the history of this and that? Okay, so we came out with which tools? The question, which tools? How can we do this in a very efficient system? Because it's not efficient, we all agree. oh, let's do a ticketing system. We use this software that creates a ticket. So when there is a remark or objection, you can treat that, blah, blah, blah. We made 1 or 2 meetings, a very complicated system, not complicated, a very efficient system, but it needed some investment in infrastructure, in this software, and then testing that the software worked, etc., etc. Say, which people do we have? Who do we have on your side and on our side that could do this? Well, we don't have time actually. So why are we talking about a solution for which there's no time? What do we have? What do we have now? What people? What skills? So at the end of the day, the solution, I know some of you might say it's really not innovative, but it worked, is to use Excel. Why? Because we didn't have any other tool, any other software. We did not have people that could work on this. When I say we, I mean all the stakeholders. Excel worksheet, a couple of different tabs with all the information they needed. And of course, in Excel, being in the form it is with cells and rows and columns, you could update and show the history of what things that had been done. End of the story. One document, very clear instructions, because that's how I used to I still do things for my customers and for people who ask for advice, is prepare the document. It looks like almost is a template. So you have things in there with indications and comments so that someone opens the document, he or she already has all the indications to how to fill out the document. It needs to be straightforward and simple. That's when I say think about what you have. Not very complicated procedures, not very complicated processes, not documents or software that people take ages to understand how to work, especially when for it's something really simple. Where can you innovate? Well, I will always say that's not my strategy, but also used by giants like Google. Invest 10% of your time for innovation. And one fundamental thing is how to optimize idle time. What does the waitress have to do in the picture with the food? Well, it's not a story. It's a real life story. Well, basically, when you're into restaurant management, one of the things they say, how do you recognize a very good waiter? Well, a very good waiter or waitress is someone who never goes empty-handed, because there is always something to do. There is some bread to take to a table. There is oil to bring to another table. There are dishes that need to go to yet another table. There are other dishes. There are a table that finished. They need to take them and bring them to the kitchen to be washed. There's salt. There's pepper. There is some attention to the customer. There's napkin to bring to another table. There's always something to do. You can't, unless the restaurant is empty, you recognize a waiter because they don't walk around without any reason. You don't see them making trips back and forth empty-handed just to look around. When they do something, they go to a table, they bring something, and they pick up something else at another table. That's efficiency. How does it work in companies? How many of these idle times do we have waiting for something else, or just going around in loops, or going to colleagues without knowing what to do, or without having some effective work to do? Now, where can you innovate? You would say also, how can you innovate? And for this, there is a very powerful tool that that's not what the tool is for, but I adapted that, with my company, Innovative Achievers, that's innovation gets in the game, which is how can you innovate? So you dedicate some time, you look for idle time, you invest 10% of your time for innovation, but how do you actually do this? So the quadruple learning loop, which means 4 different loops to learn and absorb, it's first do the same thing, but better. The second time when you look at how you do things is do the same thing, but different. And you say, hey, wait, you already say how to do things better. So I already done this. Now it's quite different. Your brain will set in different ways if you think about doing something better or doing something in a different way. So doing something better, you're improving on what you have. Doing something in a different way opens up your brain and the possibilities to do something in a way you didn't think of, which is probably different that we've always done it this way, but in a different way. So for example, do the same thing but better. Getting back to the example of the Word documents, is how do we improve the Word documents, which to some extent we were already been doing. How can I do the same thing but differently? Oh, I can use Excel. It's in a table format. It's much easier to update the dates and the numbers and the stuff. Why don't do the same thing but different? Then the third step is do something different. So how can you do something that's totally different because probably what you're doing is not efficient, or you want to improve, or you want to have better results? And the fourth loop, which is we're going a bit deeper into the company mission, into your mission, is be different. So how can you be different? Where can you be different? And this means changing your identity or the company identity, changing the way you actually are. If you're talking about a company, it's really pivoting a bit from the company mission and vision. So a couple of hints: look for the activities that are more taxing and repetitive. So if people say, no, this is really dreadful to do this, start looking for these activities, because people are meant to work on what they're good at, what they like doing, and what they studied for. And repetitive things, same. Repetitive things, we have RPAs, we have automated procedures, we have robots, we have technology, we have software. There are several ways to do stuff that is repetitive. And take the burden out of the humans. Why? Because in today's world, we know how difficult it is to attract and retain talents, how difficult it is to deliver all the projects, because basically most companies, the vast majority of companies I talk to or that I hear of, they say they need more talents, they need more time, they don't have enough resources, human and technological resources to do the projects. But look at what you already have. Write down how you do a specific activity, something that you do often, and start with one or a couple of things that are not too heavy. The instinct is, no, we want to change everything in our company. I want to change everything about how I do things, and this is the biggest thing that is difficult for me. No, let's start from the easier ones. So machines that can really help in practice. A couple of quick examples. Backup systems. You say, Giulio, really? It's so obvious. Yes, it is. It's very well known, but it's in most companies demanded to the individual initiative. I'm talking about especially small, medium companies, even companies that work in IT, they sometimes do not have backup systems. Not by policy, not done in any way. Then they would say, yes, back up your data or copy them to the server from time to time. That's not a backup system. Shared calendars. Nah, you're right, but in our company, that's science fiction. I mean, everyone has a calendar in a different way, and we don't have shared calendars. Really? In 2022? Do we really need to talk about the advantage of having shared calendars where you can actually set up a meeting in a matter of seconds, rather than having to, I don't know, I can't even remember how we did before. Yet some companies refuse to get shared calendars, or some people refuse to have shared calendars. I don't know, maybe it's a privacy thing. Well, you can set privacy settings so the time that is blocked for you is marked as blocked and doesn't show what you do. But they're expensive. Most of them are either free or they come for a ridiculous price. When I say ridiculous price, it means probably a person, an individual could afford that, but especially a company, it's really a no cost. Also, because considered as not a cost, it's an investment to be more productive. Another hint is to leverage opportunities by third parties. So, for example, government, institutions, open calls. There are several, there has been an increasing number of opportunities of funding, subventions, because in case you didn't notice, or in case it wasn't clear, I haven't been clear enough in this first part of the webinar, there's a huge need to innovate. Someone who's a bit more drastic than I am says companies that do not innovate will struggle and die. I don't want to be the drastic. I don't want to tap into the fears of people and the fears of executives and the fears of companies, but we do have a crucial point. There's a point we are a point of disruption, not just because of what we've seen so far, but as I will explain towards at the end of the webinar, we are in a moment of That's a disruption in terms of evolution and of society. We've seen the two big pushes that we have: the social push on one hand and the technological push on the other hand. These two things are disrupting the way we live and work. These things are disrupting big time. It's a change. It's one of these changes that only happen in centuries. One of the examples of, it's not an example, one of the solutions that are provided by companies or by institutions or by governments, we have this great opportunity provided by Shop for CF. And why do I like Shop for CF? Imagine all that I do. If you follow what I do, it's all about using technology for what is really needed to improve human work and human life, and great leadership to inspire the change and to actually make this happen. So when I met Shop for CF, how could I not love the idea that one of their slogan is involve human workers in areas where they create the biggest added value. That's absolutely the point. Use machines for what can be done, everything that can be done by machines, taxing work, repeatable work, automatable work, and then leverage human beings for what they're actually good at, which is problem solving, meaning not the technical problems, because machines are good at that. Problem solving most of the times, and the vast majority of problems and challenges in companies is people problems, is people challenges. This needs empathy. This needs active listening. This needs understanding. This needs knowing the people and understanding who the people are, what they do, beyond the personality test that can be done by machine. Way beyond that. So we need great leadership. We need great people. And here I'm going to present a couple of minutes the solution provided by Shop for CF. There is an open call, by the way, that ends at the end of next month. 31st of October at the end of the day. It's the deadline for the submission. Submission for what? There's an online form. I'll leave you here again the link so you can click and check for yourself. If you want the slides, again, just ask me the slides. I will send them to you very happily. And there is a guide for applicants, another open call documentation. What is the open call about? Let's look at that. You have a video. Again, you can grab the link from the slides, which is a presentation video. I will skip it because I'll introduce it to you myself. The different goals and partners. Basically, Shop for CF wants to create a unique infrastructure for human-centric industrial application. What does it mean? Basically, we have industries, we have factories, we have industrial applications, but where the human is central. Why do we care about the human being central? For all that we've seen until now. We understood how important it is to have a good environment, to have people engaged in what they do, to have functional interactions versus having dysfunctional interactions at work. So how do they provide this? They provide a comprehensive software platform that has a wide range of software modules. So basically, for a great number of industrial requirements and functionalities, we're talking about manufacturing, you can use these modules that they already provide. Shop for CF, European Community, they already provide this, and so you can take these modules and use these modules for data-rich manufacturing. What does it mean, data-rich manufacturing? It means that instead of counting things with pen and paper, as well, I had clients who still do this in 2022, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not good, it's not bad. I mean, it's not right or it's not wrong. It's definitely not efficient and definitely not functional. In a world that goes so fast, where your competitors go so fast, always invest in innovation, how can you still do things with pen and paper? Data-rich manufacturing means that all the machines are connected to some device that captures the data. How many, if we're talking about production, for example, how many pieces per minute are we doing? How many pieces are not good? How all the data and metrics about time, about quantity, and about quality, checking the quality of the material, checking the quality of the finished product. all this data can be gathered, and much more, because they, as I said, they have a library, so a comprehensive collection of modules that you can access. You can access to this and use it in your own company, in your own project. Why is it interesting? Because this is funded by the European Commission. Horizon 2020, which you would say, hey, Horizon 2020 already passed the Horizon 2020. I know this is a common question, but with Horizon 2020, it's ongoing, it's active. There are 20 partners, very big names that contribute to this. Basically, here's a bit of terminology. Again, you can read this when you download the slide. Just send me a message, I will send them to you. Basically, components are the all these modules that you can use to improve work and functionality in the company. The marketplace is where all these components are shared. Architecture is the software architecture that is used to ensure that these modules can be used. And well, use cases is different pilots that have been done so far that you can refer to, and it can give you some inspiration. Here are some use cases from Shop4CF. So there's a business ecosystem, there's the community, there's the marketplace where you can have all the modules about artificial, like done by machines, reasoning, predictive quality, robotics, monitoring. How is the company going? It's not just about production, it's also monitoring about what it's doing, detecting anomalies, collecting data. This is a very valid framework, and it's a very valid collection of modules and components for anything that you want to do in innovation in your company. These are the consortium partners. There is Funding Box, and there is the ESDI behind them. There are there's a project coordinator. There are several universities. There are several industry partners. There are several research organizations. So if you look at the industry partners, you also understand there are big names behind them, and there are actually much more than that. About the open call. So if you're interested in the open call, and I will again invite you to go and look at the link, because this can mean innovation in your company being funded by the European Union. And we'll see in a second how much this is and which way. So here we're talking about the open call. It is active now. I will tell you the dates in a second. Well, I already told you the dates is until the 31st of October. So the goal is to solve real challenges in a manufacturing environment to improve human well-being. So we mentioned before, is fundamental to obtain results, and for human reasons, like to care about your employees and your team, and also about the safety, because especially if we're talking about industries and manufacturing, safety is of paramount importance. And now the interaction human-robot is becoming, like it or not, is becoming much more predominant. Actually, I could say in vast majority of industries, you would hardly have some production line without any form of human-robot interaction. So all these experiences of operation go to the Shop4CF consortium. So there's valuable feedback. We learn from each other, you learn from the others, and this really helps to create a strong, solid community delivering solid results. And the goal is also to improve the ecosystem, to have in Europe, the industrial ecosystem in Europe, to have new technologies and appealing use cases. Like you might do something in a different way, or you might need for a different use case, you don't know exactly how to do it, or you don't have the technology to do it. This gives you the opportunity to do it, funded by the European Union. Basically, it's important to have system integrators, manufacturing companies, and developers. One of them needs to be a small, medium enterprise, a small, medium company. And the solution that you're providing for innovation, so we're talking about innovation, can be based on a new component or existing Shop4CF components. So you have this library, this basically this group of components that is available to you. You can say, oh, I need to do this, and I don't know how to do it, or I don't have the technology, or I don't have enough financial resources to automate. Well, go look at the Shop4CF library, go online, see the modules that are available, look at them, pick the ones you need, combine them together, and come up with your solution. It's done. So the goal, why is it an open call? Because basically they're looking for companies that propose a use case based on modular software components. So what would you like to innovate? How would you like to innovate it? Get in touch with them, get in touch with Shop4CF and see how this can be done with the modules or adding some of your modules, because there are some prerequisites. You will read them. It's very simple. It's very straightforward. Basically, you need to implement something in the Shop4CF architecture. There are a couple of links here of the frameworks used, FIWare and Docker container. If you want to base your solution on new components, so you need to ensure to have the funding that the solution is compatible. Basically, to put it very simple, if you do it on yourself based on new components, you need to ensure that these components are compatible with the framework and the architecture provided by Shop4CF together with the partners. If the solution is based on an existing components, then you already have the components, they are already compliant, you already know that. You just need to have a wrapper, or so to speak, that your solution that puts them together does not conflict with the architecture and the framework which is provided by Shop4CF, which is actually pretty straightforward, I would say, because you're using their components. And then you have people from Shop4CF that will guide you, will mentor you all along this journey of production and integration. What's the benefit? This should have been the first slide probably to keep your attention, but this is quite interesting. So you can get up to 100,000 euro in equity-free funding. Means it's equity-free. They don't get equity. They don't ask you for the money at a certain point. You just need to show, you just need to do the effort of having a great innovation project that is valuable and is accepted by Shop4CF. Of course, they also provide you some support during the first phase, which is the one when you submit your project for evaluation. And this is, your project can be funded at 100% for non-profits or 75% in case it's a for-profit company, which means if you have a project of 200,000 euro and you're a regular company, a normal company for profit, then you can get funded up to 70% of that, which is 140,000 euro. That's 100,000 euro because it exceeds the cap. If you have a 100,000 euro project, you can be funded by 70% and so on. If you have a 130,000 euro project, roughly, that you can be funded for up 100,000. There is an implementation program, so that's why there's an open call, because to ensure that everyone is on board, everyone is on the same page, everyone is aligned, there is a program that starts now at the end of the open call. The open call ends, I repeat, at the 31st of October, and then there is an 8-month implementation. You have 2 moderators per project, so you have constant consultation about the experiments, continuous evaluation of the results. There is they get on together with you, they get on board with you. And other supporting activities that they offer is technology training, business coaching, and finance mentoring in case you need any of these or a combination of these things. So this is the program timeline. We are now at the end of 2022. So this is actually the timeline that goes until 2023. We already talked about what is the Shop4CF architecture. Basically, there's a logical software, there's a platform, and there's a data architecture. If you want to get into detail, again, I really invite you to go online and check their website and ask me for the slides. Basically, the goal is to have functionality organized in a specific way, to use specific underlying technology from the platform architecture, and to have a data architecture that exchanges information in a proper way. Defining a usage scenario is highly encouraged. Of course, this needs to be needs to be a scenario. There needs to be clear what we're doing, why we're doing this, what is the scenario, what problem we're trying to solve, what are we innovating, what are we automating. Now, after this part about Shop for CF, what else is important about this future work? What is important about this? All this that we said since the beginning about innovation. One great way is to use the Shop for CF platform and framework that they provide. But let's sum up what we've been discussing. So there is a social push. People want more purpose, more fulfillment. They want something motivating, and this ends up in things. Think about what's happening now. The great leave, people leaving the job without having another one on the back end. Why? Because I don't like my job. I just want something more meaningful. Or also people, what is called the quiet quitting. People doing the bare minimum that they need to do to stay in the job, but their head, their mind, their body, their soul, well, the body's still there, but their soul is really somewhere else. It's not there. They're there to do the basic stuff, and that's it. How productive can they be in this company? So we have really pushed from society. So this impacts the socio-economical aspect of a company, of a country, and of the whole world as we stand now. And on the other hand, we have technology with automation, virtual reality, robotization, augmented reality, artificial intelligence. All these things are really changing the way we live and work. They say, oh, we already know about Industry 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution. Yeah, but this is just started and it's picking up fast. So we have these two things, these two forces, and these are changing. But back to one of the questions I made in the beginning, don't we have a similar pattern in human history? This is the fourth industrial revolution. What happened in the other ones before that? Well, first, let me start by saying that everything changes when you make the mental switch that something is possible. I say Bannister's law here is not a real law like a theorem, but Bannister is a runner, is a marathon, not marathon, is a runner, and is the one who completed 4 miles under a certain time. I don't remember now. That's the choice of being alive. Don't remember the exact time, but basically there were scientific articles, there were papers and doctors and scientists saying that it was impossible to get the 4 miles run under a certain threshold time. Until Bannister, this guy, made it. What happened after? Oh, it's impossible. You cannot do it. We measured it. We have scientific papers. The human body cannot, the physiology of the human being cannot go beyond that. Then this guy called Bannister did it. And what happened after that? That was a miracle. No. After he did it, people started shifting the mindset. Oh, so this guy did it. It's actually possible. It looks quite human. It's not. If you look at them, at him when he runs this 4 mile, those pictures, it's a normal human being. I mean, yes, it's athletic, it's fit, but it doesn't look like outside of the world. So what happened after that? People started making a mental switch. People changed the mindset, and another person in the same year made it, and then other people made it. And now, today, the time for running the 4 miles that Bannister did as a record that was impossible, it's commonly done by college students. Again, remember the example of the washing machine, the story of the washing machine. We cannot see what's farther down the line. It's very difficult for us. The most observant among you will get some hints and some clues, but still to put the pieces of the puzzle together is not that easy, and sometimes we don't even believe it. So another question that is important is, what have you seen in companies? What I'm saying, what I've been telling is very important, it's very real. It's my experience, based on my experience, it's based on the experience of people I know and I talk with, is executives I discuss with, and some client cases. But what have you seen in companies? Do you recognize some of the things that we discussed during the webinar about idle times, about inefficiency, about people being demotivated? What would be the most important elements that a company should apply in its way of work? Thinking about yourself, for you, what would be the most important things that a company should apply? Talking about way of work, way of doing things. Think about that for yourself, for the company you work at. If you're a leader at a company, team leader, manager, middle manager, project manager, or even more an executive, what are the fundamental points to change? And what type of organization can we conceive for the future? What type of organization can you think for the future? Why do I talk about evolution? And I said in the beginning, evolution, revolution. By the way, talking about leaders and implementing things in a different way, one of the things that I'm organizing, one of the things that I'm setting up is still fresh, it's live, we don't have something set, but is applying all these concepts to a workshop or coaching or some educational way to provide managers, especially middle managers, project managers, with a way to improve things in companies, look at things and managing things just in a slightly different way, looking at a more modern ways and methods of management that look into the future, that look into this kind of liquid organization. The future of work is fluid. Not only the future of work, the future of society, but let's stick to the future of work. The future of work is fluid. So what has been happening in the evolution? I talked about industrial revolution. We are living the fourth industrial revolution. Why do I talk about Maslow pyramid? Because each modernization has been an enabler. How so? Same text, just added the image. Every industrial revolution brought us one step higher on the pyramid of needs. So the first need is safety and security. We need to save and secure. By several coincidences, I would say there's not a strong cause-effect kind of relationship, but around the same time, the first industrial revolution, people on average in this part of the world, let me make a disclaimer, as an average, looking at the generalization, and in this part of the world where industrial revolution happened around a couple of 100 years ago, people started fulfilling the first level of the needs, safety and security. With the second industrial revolutions, people started basically fulfilling the second layer, which is having a bit more connection, a bit more like family and other kind of benefits, I would say. Then there's the third level, the third industrial revolution. We're talking about half of the last century, 1960 more or less. Connection. The third industrial revolution was in coincidence with this need of connection, this need of getting a social context. Where does it end? Not, it doesn't really end, but where did it go? It went so far as social networks. Where do people spend most of the time, or used to spend most of the time? I don't know if it's still accurate, but Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, social networks. Why? Because it's the third level of the human needs. It's connection. It's this social, this feeling of being part of a community. And what's the fourth one? Well, actually, the fourth one is self-realization, feeling fulfilled, feeling accomplished, feeling that we're doing something meaningful. Does it ring a bell? I should, because it's what we've been talking about during the whole presentation. So basically, when I say there is a disruption happening, it's because of this reason. So it's a social economical evolution or revolution. So the fourth industrial revolution that we are living now technology combines with a social, I would say, pressure, a social, it's a strong willingness to break this third level. Okay, we have these connections. We are with the people. We are together. We have this sense of belonging, but we want more. What do we want? We want something meaningful. We want realization, self-realization. We want to be fulfilled. We want to feel accomplished. So, fourth industrial revolution is here with all the machines that we're saying. So, society, people are pushing against the ceiling of the third level of this pyramid of needs, because they want to go into they want to break into this fourth level and want to be good and feel good in this fourth level. So these two forces together that are happening are shaping the world in the present day. They already started. You already seen what is happening. You already seen how the pandemic. I've been talking about this since starting before the pandemic. Now with the pandemic, because of the pandemic, you saw how fast these things changed. This is not going back anytime. Think about hybrid work, think about smart working, think about remote working, think about all the ways that changed the way companies see work, the way employees see work, the way every person that works rebalanced life and work in their head and then implemented in their real life with the family, with the children, with the friends, with their own space, where they live, when they work. And this changed forever the way we live and work. So in a company, it's crucial to see these trends, which is not even a trend, the trend already picked up fast. And as I say, I like to quote a famous film, Any Given Sunday, Al Pacino, Great Realization. At a certain point, motivates the people in the locker room of a football team and says, that's a team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals. I really think that we are in this moment of change and disruption. You with your people, your family, your teammates, your company, you're a team. We as a society are a team. We are all the society. What society? Society is an interconnection of people. You're connected with your friends who are connected with other friends who are connected with other friends. And in the end, some of these other friends of friends you might not like or you might even hate. I wish there were not hate in the world, but there is. But you don't like someone, you don't like anyone. You don't have to like anyone. But we are connected. We are society. We are a team. And we realize now that we have to heal, that we have to connect together to create a different, better future. Maybe we not die technically or literally, but we will die as individuals. You are not alone. I'm not alone. We are society, and together we can have what is better, not only for ourselves, because that the whole topic of the webinar, the whole point is that it's not about let's all be free and be happy and screw work and the companies. Oops, I said the screw word. That's it. It's not about that. It's about having a better fulfillment, better engagement, because that improves you as a person, makes you live better, and at the same time makes the company have better results. It's a win-win. So we either heal now as a team. As a team means all the individuals that form the society, but also the individuals together with the companies. It's not the individual against the company. It's not the worker against the entrepreneur. It's not the employee against the employer. It's about time that we put these two together. We understand that we are a team with different competences, different visions, different capabilities, different skills, different responsibilities, and heal now as a team, or you see what's happening. People leaving their job, people struggling, people having financial difficulties, companies struggling, company shutting down, company having financial difficulties, company just surviving, just going by, not good, not bad. That's not what a company is for. companies to thrive and to provide great value to the customers. That's the basic of entrepreneurship. And that makes providing solutions to the problems world is a company's mission. And now you can have a great ally with Shop4CF for innovating. And I would say that a different future of better productivity, higher profits, and more fulfillment begins with doing the small change in your work. A different and better future begins with sharing the word and sharing these ideas. A different and better future begins with implementing these things in your company, in your role. If you're a leader, a different and better future starts with implementing these things in the whole company and understanding and implementing how important this is, not only for the company, not only for the people, but for yourself. A different and better future, whatever your role is, begins with you. Thank you very much. Really appreciated that you've been following for 1 hour, and follow Innovachievers if you want. Follow Shop4CF. They're doing great things. They really push for innovation. So this is it. Someone is asking in chat to share the slides. Let me just reply. Please send me a message. Or I can. What I can do is to also share them on my LinkedIn profile. If you have any other way of communicating, please do so. This is being live on LinkedIn and YouTube, so I'm not sure where the question came from. That's it for the moment. Stay strong, stay effective, and talk to you soon.